everyone.
Coach.
All
Alright. Thanks everyone for being here. Reminder, this weekend we'll be kicking off at 2:30 against UCLA on Big Ten Network. Just got announced, but next weekend's game, homecoming against ULM, will kick off at 2:30 p.m. as well, also on the Big Ten Network. Get started with an opening statement from Coach, then go into questions. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and get my attention. Coach.
Excited to officially be back into game week. Last week was really productive. Challenged our team, for urgent daily improvement. I thought we accomplished that mission throughout the week. Really good week of practice. Opportunity for some guys that were dinged up to, hopefully make some progression to back to full health and back to availability. As a staff on the back end of the week, we were able to, couple practice with some opportunities to continue to build our class of 2026 and class of 2027, being on the road from a recruiting standpoint, and challenged our group going into the weekend. We put some really good work in, but now the challenge ahead is to take that improvement that we made last week and start stacking on that improvement as we officially get into UCLA week. I know, with the transition at head coach at UCLA presents some unique challenges for us, just in terms of, what adjustments will Tim Skipper make and how are they going to approach that. But what I can tell you from, being around Coach Skipper, he probably doesn't remember it, but vividly remember being out in Fort Collins working Colorado State's camp when he was out there with Coach Mack. The job that Coach Skipper did at Fresno State last year in a tough situation with Coach Tedford stepping down over the summer. Heck of a football coach, incredible motivator, and UCLA will be playing their best football when they come into Evanston. So great challenge for us with a great Big Ten opponent, very talented football team. I'm sure in some ways the adversity that they're going through right now will be an opportunity for them to come together and be extra motivated to be at their best, and ultimately the things that we need to focus on a football team is continue to improve, be at our best on Saturday, and position ourselves to have a great win at home and get our first Big Ten win.
Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned the opportunity to get a lot of the guys healthy. You were definitely dinged up in that secondary. How have some of those guys progressed over the last 2 weeks, specifically safety Damon Walters? Yeah,
we're excited about the progress that is being made by a lot of guys. Damon is one specifically that is, he's anxious to get back. We're certainly anxious to get him back. We'll know more as the week goes along with him, but with his specific injury, it's just finicky. It's soft tissue. When we get Damon back, we need to make sure that we have him back for the rest of the season. But optimistic about his progression. We'll know more this week in terms of his availability for Saturday.
Coach, you talked about, since last time you talked, UCLA parted ways with their head coach. They were also on a bye week, so you haven't seen tape on what Coach Skipper's team looks like. How unique of a challenge is that, as you try to watch tape, study tendencies, when that, everything kind of be totally different?
Yeah, no, it definitely presents some unique challenges. And I think the thing that Zach and the offensive staff have to be careful about is not going down rabbit holes of chasing things that you're just letting your mind kind of wander in terms of what could they do. What I'm confident in is, Tim Skipper is a great football coach, very good mind in all three phases, but ultimately is someone that prides himself on, his teams playing with great fundamentals, great effort, great demeanor, and that showed throughout his career. And I think the thing that we need to understand is take the tangible things that we've seen from, their defense specifically, be wise about making sure that our offensive game plan is adaptable and adjustable to anything that they put out there, and ultimately put our guys in a position to play really fast. But it certainly presents some unique challenges.
Yeah.
Coach, you've talked a lot about this season about not wanting Preston Stone to do too much and letting him know that he can take some of the relief off and trust his teammates. Over the last 2 weeks, he's probably had, week and a half, he's had some time to, kind of take a step back, have a week off. What have you noticed from him, both in terms of preparation, just in this little bye week and how he's gotten ready for the UCLA game.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of consistency, and it's all the things that we've seen since he's arrived in January. His energy at practice is infectious. There's a reason that this team voted him as a team captain. His process and his preparation for game week is something that's unwavering, extremely thorough, and ultimately, Preston just needs to continue to make sure that what we see in practice is what shows up on game day. And the things that make him great, his competitiveness, his ownership, his desire to do, great things for his team. Ultimately, he just needs to make sure it doesn't turn into him trying to do too much for his team and, take what the defense has given him. Again, the way that he showed up this bye week continues to prepare, and just the energy that he brings to practice, the competitiveness that he brings to practice is something that certainly needs to continue, and he's been incredibly consistent with.
Sponge.
Coach, John Stevens against Oregon saw plenty of snaps at safety after Garner Wallace exited the game. What have you just seen out of him, in practice and also in that game that made you confident that he could step into that role?
It's a great deal of maturity, for a young man to arrive in the middle of June and put himself in a position to, be, a contributor on special teams is quite a feat to accomplish. And John has just proven throughout the course of the summer, throughout the course of fall camp, that he's prepared to play on defense for us. I'd be the first one to tell you, I don't think that's initially how you map it out in your mind as a coach, to have a true freshman playing, meaningful, significant snaps against a Big Ten opponent. But John has proven that he's prepared for that opportunity. Did some really nice things against Oregon, and also made some freshman mistakes. But what a great opportunity for him to learn from those, grow. Coach Barnett has done an exceptional job of expediting the maturity and the preparation out of those young safeties.
You talked about David. Do you have health updates on Garner Wallace and Josh Fussell?
Yeah, Garner, we'll know more as the week goes along, but really hopeful that Garner's back, and optimistic that he will be. Josh, again, we'll know more later this week. Don't see it as a long-term deal with Josh, but definitely more questionable in terms of this weekend.
Coach, what have you seen out of the development of your running back room since Coach Thompson has taken over?
Yeah, we've been fortunate here to have, ever since I arrived with Lou Ianni and Chris Foster previously, just an incredible presence and leadership in that running back room. And as I've said before publicly, I think AT is taking it to just even a whole nother level. And again, I think a testament to that isn't just what we saw out of Cam Porter early in the year, and guys like Caleb Komalafe and Joe Hyman continuing to progress, but for a guy like Deshaun Reeder to step in against Oregon and perform the way that he did, I think is a testament to his ability to coach that entire room. And with Cam being down for the remainder of the season, that's something that's going to need to continue. Deshaun and Daniel Anderson are guys that are going to have to continue to pick up more and more load. And he's a great teacher. He does an incredible job of relating to the guys, and he finds an incredible balance of really challenging and pushing those guys, holding them accountable, while also teaching them the game.
Ted.
Coach, UCLA's defensive line is pretty formidable. They have two defensive tackles that are, if you look at the scale, they're way up there. Can you tell us a little bit about, in particular, those two players?
Yeah, good players. I mean, they're stout against the run, have the ability to be extremely disruptive, and a lot of it comes back to us continuing to evaluate who we are. When we're at our best right now offensively, we're effectively running the football, and that's the other portions of our offense are complementing off of that. But those two guys inside specifically will pose a challenge to move the line of scrimmage to establish that, especially early in the game.
Gavin.
Coach, overall, when you look at UCLA's defense, it is a unit that has struggled on the season, potentially an opportunity to open up more of the explosive game through the air. What do you view as the main key on the offense this game in terms of being able to unlock that new element that maybe was a little bit lacking against Tulane and against Oregon?
Again, I think it comes back to it starts with the run game. I think one thing that AT and others would, even our running back room would admit, there's more explosive plays out there for us even in the run game. Some some missed tackles, from second level and third level defenders that we can turn 11-yard gains into explosive plays like we saw with Deshaun late in the game against Oregon. And then opportunities off of that. Again, chasing explosive plays in the passing game and trying to force it is the last thing that we want. But, whether it be through RPO, whether it be through play action, or simple efficiency in the passing game that leads to broken tackles, those things should come. The thing that, I've challenged our team and our staff on, it can be easy to look at UCLA's record or look at a score, but when you really look at, each progression of each game, this is a talented football team. This is a team that, really bowed up on defense a couple times against New Mexico, getting some stops with the ball inside the 10-yard line, forced a fumble, had their opportunities. They moved the ball very effectively on offense, super talented at the quarterback position. We have to be very aware of objectively looking at the tape in all three phases and acknowledging this is a talented football team that's got a little shot of energy, whether that be through adversity or however that comes, and be prepared to be at our best on Saturday.
Coach, last season around this time, you made a change at quarterback after a 1-1 start by Mike Wright, in part because of ball security. He had 2 fumbles, interception. Preston in his 2 FBS games has 7 turnovers. Was there any consideration at this bye week about starting to, think about working in Ryan Bowe or not? And if not, can you detail why it's different this season?
Yeah, I think overall it's different because what we've seen out of Preston, in practice, the Tulane game is the extreme outlier, right? Throughout Preston's career, that game is an outlier. The 2 interceptions that he throws against Oregon, one's on him. He's trying to force the ball in on a third down situation. The other one ultimately wasn't on him. Our back either has to break out or break across the face of the linebacker, and if our back does in that situation, it's got a chance to be a big play for us. It's coming back to the objective piece of it. What have we seen out of Preston in practice, the consistency in practice, and then him knowing that, he does have to do a better job of valuing the football and not trying to force things that aren't there. But no, Preston Stone's our quarterback. Are we really excited about Ryan Bowe? Are there potential opportunities to utilize Ryan at some point? We saw what he did against Western Illinois carrying the football. Those are things that we, as a coaching staff, we'd be silly not to evaluate. But there has never been a consideration of making a change at the starting quarterback.
Coach, going into the season, you really talked about Anto Osaka as a difference maker on defense, especially in every down or increase role aspect after he's more of a pass rush specialist last season. He has been in the rotation, but so far he's been the 3rd defensive end based on snaps. Is that, an in-game evaluation depth chart decision, or is there some kind of, impact on his health?
Yeah, I know. I think ultimately sometimes, Coach Smith does a great job along with staff of tracking snaps as the game goes along. Anto's starting for us and starting for a reason. We're really pleased with the progression that we've seen out of him as an every down player. And ultimately we need to get Anto in a situation, as you go back and evaluate the Oregon game, we're disappointed and frustrated that we didn't have more sack opportunities, and they were out there. That group up front needs to do a better job as working collectively. Like we've talked about before, a lot of times sacks don't come off a clean win. They come from, high motor plays where someone forces the quarterback to step up and build in the pocket, and you go back and study the film. There's guys winning up front, but we need to do a better job of building the pocket. Anto is someone that we anticipate being a starter for us, being someone that's taken on a heavy load, whether it be first down, second down, or third down. And the reflection of snaps is not a reflection of a question mark or whether or not he can execute in those situations.
Coach, Cam Porter's leadership is obviously something that you guys have relied on, not just this year, but past that. But now that he's not playing on the field, how have you seen his role kind of morph? Is it, into more of a player coach, or still kind of just a mentor? How has that kind of changed over the last couple of weeks?
I think it's been both, player coach, mentor, a lot of things that were already existing even when he was playing. It's just the way that Cam carried himself. And ultimately, as he's going through his progression of his recovery and everything that comes along with it, as he gets back to, I don't want to say full health, but healthier and healthier, more healthy in that recovery. his opportunity to have tremendous impact on our football team will continue to increase. Just having his presence in team meetings, position meetings is critical. But I mean, if you come out and observe a practice, you're going to see a guy on crutches that's bouncing around and going from walkthrough to drills, coaching guys up, pouring into them. Like I've said before, we're going to miss his impact on the field, but the things that he's able to do off the field for this team as a whole as a leader are things that will be critical to our team all season long.
Another kind of snap situation on the offensive line. You've rotated. First game, Deuce got the big majority. Past 2 games, it's been pretty even between him and Martez. Is there an end point this season where you want to make an assessment, go with a consistent starter, or are you comfortable continuing to rotate those guys? Comfortable continuing to rotate, but also like just having objective evaluations of where we're at. Very openly, this is something that's not a secret to Martez or to Deuce. Martez has incredible strength and production in the run game. He moves people. Deuce has, like, where Deuce McGuire is today compared to where he was 12 months ago is a testament to his work ethic and consistency. He continues to improve. Deuce doesn't have as much impact in the run game as Martez does. But ultimately, Deuce's consistency, he's been here longer, been in the system longer. Like, where we can challenge Martez is, just being more consistent and more thorough in some of the, communication that happens up front. And Deuce just needs to continue to physically develop and build confidence at that position. Both are going to be critical pieces of our offensive line. But ultimately, Matt, if someone starts to truly separate themselves, then that person needs to be playing more.
Hunter Welsing has kind of started to separate himself as the premier pass catcher out of the tight end group. What do you think kind of separates him in that aspect from other tight ends?
Yeah, it's incredibly athletic, and in a testament and credit to the staff that recruited Hunter. I think they saw a lot of things in Hunter that you had to be willing to project as a developmental program. And then Hunter has had a lot of adversity throughout his career from a health standpoint that I don't want to say stunted that, but maybe hoping that his opportunity would come sooner than it did. And now here it is. It's really exciting to see. But his overall speed, his athleticism, his ball skills are things that stand out. The thing that really fires me up about Hunter's progression, though, is like the physicality that he's shown in the run game. I mean, there's a couple plays over the last couple weeks where, I mean, it's not him just getting his job done. I mean, like, physically getting after people and knocking them off the ball and, putting people on their backs. I mean, things that, I don't know if you could say Hunter was a well-rounded tight end in the Big Ten even a year ago. But today, as we sit here, like, any down distance, any scenario, that's a guy that we can count on.
Anything else for Coach? Yeah, last one, Matt.
Obviously, I think Griffin's had a great start to the season, but it seems like you're still trying to find, production further down the depth chart. How do you assess the rest of your wide receiver room? Has there been more consideration about maybe working Hayden Allegan or Drew Wagner more into the starting rotation?
I think Drew just continues to make plays, right? Like, we got to find ways to get the ball in Drew Wagner's hands. He's a playmaker. Still excited about Frank, still excited about Ricky. Hayden's continued to develop. We know that, and knew going into the season, like, this wasn't going to be something where we had one or two, like, primary target guys. Griffin's separated himself a little bit, but excited for that group to continue to make progress. And ultimately, when you got a guy like Drew Wagner that's making as many plays as he is, and has shown that, when the ball's in there and it's a 50-50 ball, he's going to find a way to come down with it. That's something that you got to find ways to get on the field more frequently.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.